We are in example 7 of 1.1, and I wanted to discuss with you guys about expressions with grouping symbols. The first example I want you guys to look at is example A. Now, one thing I want you guys to understand is that there is a fraction bar here. And when you have fractions, you have to be able to understand that the numerator is separate from the denominator, meaning that any grouping or math operations that are in the numerator needs to be completed before you touch anything on the bottom. And then once you finish out the denominator, that's when the two can interact. So if you go ahead and take a look here on the sides, the notes tell you the phrases of what is happening. So for this one, it's happening where it says evaluate inside the parentheses. You have to do the order of operations. So 4 plus 5 on the top is 9, and that's where this comes from. And then on the bottom here, 7 minus 4 is 3. That's where this 3 comes from. Then on the next step here, it says evaluate the power in the numerator because, again, order of operations states you have to do parentheses, then you go ahead and do any exponents that there are. So that is this step for the top. So the square here, when you take a look, it belongs to the 9. So 9 squared is 81. That's where this comes from. On the denominator, there is no square, so that's why you don't do anything in this step. But then you move right on to the denominator because now you have to do multiplication. Now, I understand that you're saying to yourself, well, I thought division and multiplication were at the same level, and they are. However, you cannot do this division here until you get rid of all the steps between the numerator and the denominator. So you have to do the denominator first because it is considered a separate group. So 3 times 3 is 9, and that's where this 9 comes from. Now you can go ahead and simplify now that there's no more groups, there's no more operations in the numerator and denominator, and now you can actually divide. And that is because 81 divided by 9 is 9. So my answer is 9. And again, this goes back to what I taught you guys already, that fractions is just division. 81 over 9 is a fraction, and it is division as well, and that means you divide. 81 divided by 9 is 9. In this example here, you just need to simply note how there's different types of grouping. So you have in parentheses right here, but they are within a set of brackets. And so what happens here is that when you have different types of grouping, the parentheses and brackets are types of grouping, you have to do the inside first and work your way out. So that's why, again, if you look at the steps here, it says evaluate the innermost parentheses. So that's what you do first. 3 minus 2 is 1. Now that square on the outside has not been affected yet, so now we can go ahead and evaluate the power because you have to do the order of operations within the group. So 1 squared is still 1. Then you do 10 plus 1, and again, that is because we have brackets here. We have to solve that first before we could do any additional multiplication or division or adding or subtracting. And 10 plus 1 is 11. And then 15 minus 11 is 4. And now we could go ahead and do that. Now, one thing I do want to note here is that even though there are brackets, because there's only one single number, you just simply treat that as the same as you would without parentheses. And that's why you could just simply go left to right, 15 minus 11. And that's also why we didn't do 11 plus 6 first. And then you do 4 plus 6, which is 10. And so one thing I want you to note is with all of these notes, when they're guided like this, please read the signs over here because they tell you step by step what's happening so you can get a nice, easy picture to look at it. Let's go ahead and do this practice check your understanding problem. We have 2 cubed minus 5 over 15 plus 9. Now, although you don't see any parentheses, again, that fraction bar indicates there is grouping here. So if you want to go ahead and add this, you can to help you kind of understand that. So let's go ahead and do the order of operations in the numerator first. So 2 cubed is the same as 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So now we have an 8 here instead of this 2 cubed. And then I didn't do anything to the minus 5, so I bring it to the next step. Now, you could wait to do 15 plus 9, or you could do it now. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and do it now. 15 plus 9 is 24. And then you could go ahead and proceed because I still have a math operation in my numerator. I can't do anything yet. I can't do 8 divided by 24 or anything like that. I have to continue until there's only a single number at both the top and the bottom. 8 minus 5 is 3. And I didn't do anything to the 24, so I keep going. And then 3 over 24 is a fraction, aka division, and I need to see if there is any type of like term here. And 3 does go into 24, and it goes into itself. So if I divide both the top and the bottom by 3, and again, that 3 right here is the GCF here for me to be able to reduce the fraction. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And it stays up at the top, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. So my fraction and my final answer is 1 over 8.